Commander Hyunwoo floated silently in the observation deck of the Galactic Council monitoring station, his eyes fixed on the impossible readings scrolling across the holographic display. The numbers didn't make sense. Human cargo ships were moving through space carrying massive amounts of what the galaxy's oldest records called the dissolver, a substance so dangerous that even the most advanced civilizations kept only microscopic samples in their most secure laboratories. "Sir, we're detecting another human convoy," reported Lieutenant Jae-won, his voice trembling as he watched the scanner data. 17 vessels, each carrying approximately 50,000 tons of dihydrogen monoxide. The bridge fell silent except for the soft humming of the station's systems. Every alien species represented on the monitoring station, from the crystalline Veltarians to the gaseous Nebulon collective, had heard the ancient warnings about this liquid. It was written in their oldest texts as the universal destroyer, capable of breaking down molecular bonds and dissolved through almost any material given enough time. Hyunwoo's superior, Captain Soo-jin, materialized beside him through the station's transport beam. Her face was pale with worry. "How many human worlds are we tracking now?" she asked quietly. 43 colonies across 12 star systems," replied Jae-won, pulling up a galactic map that showed human settlements marked in red danger zones. "And sir, the readings show they're not just transporting this substance between worlds, they're actually storing it in open containers on their planet surfaces." The Veltarian counselor, whose species had evolved on worlds where even water vapor was deadly, clicked his crystalline appendages together in distress. "This is unprecedented. No species in recorded galactic history has survived direct exposure to the dissolver for more than a few moments. These humans must be protected by some unknown technology." But what puzzled the observers most was how casually the humans seemed to handle the dangerous liquid. Their cargo ship showed no special containment fields, no hazardous material warnings, no protective protocols that every other species would require when dealing with even a single drop of the substance. Dr. Min Jung, the station's chief xenobiologist, studied the data with growing alarm. "Look at these atmospheric readings from human worlds," she said, pointing to her analysis. "The dissolver exists in vapor form throughout their entire atmosphere. It falls from their skies regularly in what they call precipitation events." The implications were staggering. Entire human planets were being constantly bathed in a substance that could dissolve metal, break down organic compounds, and had been responsible for the extinction of the Corvanian Empire 3,000 years ago, when a single containment breach had contaminated their homeworld. "Perhaps they don't understand what they're dealing with," suggested Lieutenant Yuna, monitoring human communications channels. "Their transmissions show no awareness of the danger. They seem to treat this substance as if it were completely harmless." Commander Hyunwoo shook his head slowly. "That's what worries me most. Either they have technology so advanced that they can neutralize the dissolver's effects completely, or they don't realize they're living with a substance that could destroy their entire civilization." The monitoring station's computers began processing data from human industrial facilities, and the results made everyone's blood run cold. The humans weren't just storing the dissolver, they were actively using it in their manufacturing processes, their agriculture, and most shocking of all, in their power generation systems. "Sir, you need to see this," called out Specialist Dong-hyun from his position at the energy monitoring station. "The humans are using the dissolver in their fusion reactors. They're actually breaking apart its molecular structure to create energy." The bridge erupted in concerned murmurs from the various alien species present. To use the dissolver as fuel was beyond reckless. It was suicidal. Even the most desperate civilizations had never attempted such a thing. Captain Soo-jin made her decision. "Quickly, prepare an emergency transmission to the human governments. Priority 1 diplomatic channel. We need to warn them before they contaminate half the galaxy." As the communication systems powered up, Dr. Min Jung pulled up historical records on her personal display. "I'm looking at the archives from the Zephyrian expedition that first discovered the dissolver 12,000 years ago. They lost 3 research vessels just trying to collect a sample. The liquid ate through their hull plating in minutes. And yet humans are swimming in oceans of it," whispered Lieutenant Jae-won, staring at the satellite images of human worlds, where vast bodies of the dissolver covered most of the planet's surfaces. The alien observers watched in fascination and horror as human children played in the deadly substance during their recreational activities, as human cities were built directly, beside enormous reservoirs of it, and as human spacecraft routinely traveled through asteroid fields where the dissolver existed in frozen form. Either we're witnessing the most advanced civilization in galactic history, Commander Hyunwoo said quietly, or we're about to watch the most spectacular extinction event the universe has ever seen. The communication array finished its startup, sequence with a soft chime, ready to send humanity what might be the most important warning message in the history of the galaxy. Ambassador Jinne sat in her office on Luna Station, enjoying her morning coffee when the priority transmission alert began flashing red across every screen in the room. The diplomatic channel rarely carried emergency messages, and never from the Galactic Council itself. She set down her mug and activated the communication array, expecting perhaps a routine trade dispute or territorial boundary discussion. What appeared on her screen was unlike anything she had ever seen. 7 different alien species were crowded, together in what looked like a crisis meeting room, their various forms of biology creating a bizarre collection of shapes and colors. The lead speaker appeared to be some kind of crystalline being whose voice came through the universal translator with obvious panic. Humans of Earth and the colonies, we are the Emergency Council of the Galactic Federation. You are in immediate and catastrophic danger. Your species has somehow been exposed to massive quantities of dihydrogen monoxide, known throughout the galaxy as the dissolver. We are prepared to begin immediate evacuation procedures. Jinne blinked slowly, trying to process what she was hearing. She looked at the water bottle on her desk, then back at the screen where alien beings were frantically waving appendages and making distressed sounds. We have detected that your planets are covered in this deadly substance, continued a slug-like creature whose entire body was trembling. Our readings show concentrations that should have killed every living thing on your worlds within hours. We do not understand how you have survived this long, but we must act quickly. The ambassador reached for her water bottle and took a casual sip while listening. On screen, several aliens immediately recoiled as if they had witnessed something horrific. Did that human just consume the dissolver? Whispered a gaseous being whose form kept shifting colors. Jinne realized she needed to respond. Thank you for your concern, but I think there might be some confusion. We drink water every day. It's completely normal for us. The silence that followed lasted nearly 30 seconds. Then chaos erupted on the alien side of the communication. 3 different species began making alarm sounds simultaneously, one crystalline being actually shattered and had to be carried away by others, and the slug-like creature appeared to faint. This is impossible, gasped the lead speaker once some order was restored. No biological entity in the known universe can survive direct contact with the dissolver. It breaks down cellular structures, dissolves protective membranes, and causes immediate system failure in all known forms of life. Dr. So-young, who had been called to the communications center, joined the conversation. I'm a human biologist. Perhaps I can help explain. Water, what you call the dissolver, makes up about 60% of our body mass. We need it to survive. This statement caused even more panic among the alien delegation. A mechanical species representative began beeping rapidly, and what the translator indicated was extreme distress. You are telling us that you are primarily composed of the most dangerous substance in the universe? We bathe in it, swim in it for recreation, and use it for agriculture, added Captain Minho, who had arrived with Dr. So-young. He held up a glass of water and drank it slowly while the aliens watched in horror. The mechanical being's voice box started producing static. Alert! Alert! Impossible biological parameters detected. Requesting immediate scientific analysis team. How is your species not extinct? Demanded a spider-like creature whose 8 eyes were all focused intently on the humans. The Corvanian Empire was destroyed by a single liter spill of this substance. It contaminated their entire homeworld. Jinne exchanged glances with her colleagues. Maybe we should demonstrate how harmless it is for us? She walked to a nearby sink, filled her hands with water and splashed it on her face to wash. On screen, 2 more aliens collapsed. "She's covering herself in it," whispered the gaseous being in what sounded like prayer. "And she's not dying." Dr. So-Young pulled up human biological data on her tablet. "Look, our cells are designed to function in an aqueous environment. We evolved from ocean-dwelling organisms billions of years ago. This liquid isn't poison to us. It's literally what we're made of." The lead crystalline speaker was rapidly consulting with others off-screen. "Our scientists are informing me that what you describe violates several fundamental principles of chemistry and biology as we understand them. Are you certain you are not using some form of protective technology?" Captain Minho laughed, which caused several aliens to make defensive postures. "No technology, we're born this way. In fact, we'll die without water within a few days. You require regular exposure to the dissolver to maintain life functions?" The spider creature's voice was barely audible through the translator. "About 2 liters per day," confirmed Dr. So-Young cheerfully. The communication screen suddenly filled with frantic activity as various species began what appeared to be emergency consultations. The translator picked up fragments of conversations about impossible biology, universal threat reassessment, and strategic implications. Finally, the lead speaker returned to address the humans directly. We need time to process this information. If what you say is true, then everything we know about galactic biochemistry must be reconsidered." Jin'e nodded diplomatically while finishing her coffee. "Take all the time you need. We'll be here, drinking our coffee and staying hydrated." The transmission ended abruptly as several more aliens apparently fainted. Captain Minho stood in the center of the diplomatic meeting room aboard the human vessel New Sol, watching as alien representatives slowly filed in wearing full environmental suits. The Galactic Council had requested a face-to-face demonstration after 3 days of frantic debates about human biology. Each alien delegation had brought their own atmospheric processors, radiation detectors, and emergency medical equipment, treating the meeting like an expedition into a toxic wasteland. The lead representative, a Veltarian named Crix, whose crystalline body was completely enclosed in a protective shell, spoke through his suit's communication system. "We must observe your species' interaction with the dissolver under controlled conditions. Our scientists refuse to believe the initial reports." Dr. So-Young smiled and gestured to a simple table set up in the middle of the room. On it sat a clear glass pitcher filled with water, several drinking glasses, and a small wash basin. To the aliens, it might as well have been a collection of the most dangerous weapons in the galaxy. "Before we begin," announced the hegemony's representative through his environmental suit, "our medical teams are standing by with full decontamination protocols. If any of you humans show signs of cellular breakdown, we will attempt emergency intervention." Captain Minho walked casually to the table and picked up the pitcher. The aliens immediately backed away, their various sensors beeping with alarm readings. He poured water into one of the glasses, the sound of liquid flowing causing several delegates to activate additional protective barriers. "This is just normal water from our ship's supply," Minho explained, lifting the glass. "We purify it from ice we collect from asteroids, just like we've been doing for decades." He drank the entire glass in one smooth motion. 3 alien observers immediately activated emergency medical scanners, expecting to witness rapid biological breakdown. Instead, Minho simply refilled his glass and offered it toward the crowd. "Would anyone like to try some?" he asked with a grin. The mechanical delegate, whose robotic form was designed to handle extreme hazardous materials, extended a sensor probe toward the water. Readings confirm molecular structure of dihydrogen monoxide. Corrosive properties remain active. Subject should be experiencing cellular damage. Dr. So-Young stepped forward and poured water into the wash basin. "Let me show you something that might help explain." She rolled up her sleeves and plunged both hands directly into the water, moving them around to demonstrate complete contact with the liquid. Several aliens made sounds that the translator couldn't process, apparently expressing concepts that had no equivalent in human language. The spider-like arachnoid delegate's 8 eyes were all fixed on Dr. So-Young's hands as she lifted them from the water, dripping wet, but completely unharmed. "Impossible," whispered the gaseous nebulan representative, whose form flickered with distress patterns. "The dissolver should have begun breaking down your protective skin layers immediately. Our skin is designed to handle water contact," Dr. So-Young explained, showing her perfectly normal hands to the crowd. "In fact, we need to keep our skin moist to stay healthy." Captain Min-ho decided to take the demonstration further. He walked to a wall panel and activated the ship's shower system in the adjacent hygiene facility, visible through a transparent barrier. "We actually wash our entire bodies with this substance daily." The sound of water cascading from the shower head caused several aliens to activate emergency evacuation protocols. Captain Min-ho calmly removed his uniform shirt and stepped under the flowing water, letting it pour over his head and shoulders. "Alert! Alert!" began the mechanical delegate's alarm system. "Biological entity is experiencing full-body exposure to Class Omega corrosive agent." But instead of dissolving, Captain Min-ho simply began washing himself with soap, scrubbing his arms and face while water ran down his entire body. He even opened his mouth and let some water in, swishing it around before spitting it out. He's putting it inside his oral cavity," gasped the Veltarian, his crystalline form trembling even inside his protective suit. "And he's still functioning." Dr. So-Young pulled up a holographic display showing human anatomy. "This is why we can do this. See, our cells are surrounded by water-based fluid. Our blood is mostly water. Our organs float in water-based solutions. We're basically walking containers of the substance you fear most." The arachnoid delegate extended a specialized scanner toward Captain Min-ho, who was now toweling off after his shower, confirming biological readings. Subject is 63% dihydrogen monoxide by mass. This should be lethal to any known life form. "Not to us," Min-ho said cheerfully, putting his shirt back on. "We evolved this way over millions of years. Our planet is covered with oceans of this stuff." The lead Veltarian finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper through the suit's communication system. "Your entire world being is covered in the dissolver?" "About 71% of the surface," confirmed Dr. So-Young. "We have massive bodies of it everywhere. Lakes, rivers, oceans. It falls from our sky regularly as rain." Several aliens began what appeared to be prayer rituals in their respective traditions. "And you use this substance for power generation?" asked the hegemony representative, consulting his notes from previous communications. Captain Min-ho nodded and activated a wall display showing the ship's fusion reactor. "We split the water molecules apart to create energy. Very efficient process. This ship runs entirely on water fuel." The mechanical delegate's systems began producing sounds that the translator identified as existential crisis subroutines activated. "The beings who have mastered the dissolver," whispered the nebulan representative, "are standing before us, unharmed and thriving." Admiral Jamin sat in the emergency meeting room of Earth's Orbital Defense Command, staring at the flood of diplomatic messages that had arrived in the past 6 hours. Every major power in the galaxy was suddenly very interested in talking to humanity, and none of the conversations were about the usual topics of trade routes or territorial disputes. "Sir, we're receiving our 15th request for immediate diplomatic meetings," reported Lieutenant Yu Jin, her voice filled with confusion. "The Zarian hegemony is offering to withdraw all their military forces from our border systems in exchange for what they're calling water access negotiations." The Admiral rubbed his temples, trying to process the sudden shift in galactic politics. Just yesterday, the Zarian hegemony had been positioning invasion fleets along human space, preparing for what military intelligence believed would be a full-scale attack within months. Now their most aggressive enemy was practically begging for peaceful talks. "What exactly are they offering?" Jamin asked, pulling up the detailed diplomatic proposals on his screen. Lieutenant Yu Jin scrolled through the documents, her eyes widening as she read. "They're offering us 3 entire star systems, complete with mining rights and established infrastructure. They want a guaranteed supply of 10 million liters of water per year in return." The Admiral nearly choked on his coffee. 10 million liters? That's what, about 4 swimming pools worth? They're offering us 3 star systems for 4 swimming pools? Colonel Do-hyun, the head of military intelligence looked up from his own stack of proposals. Sir, it gets stranger. The Silicon Confederation is offering us their entire agricultural technology database, plus exclusive trading rights in the Centauri sector. They want water rights too, but they're asking for it in frozen form only. They're terrified of liquid water, but apparently think ice is safer to handle. On the main display screen, incoming messages continued to pile up faster than the diplomatic staff could process them. The Crystalline Assembly, the Methane Collective, the Robotic Alliance, and dozens of smaller civilizations were all sending increasingly desperate offers for what humans considered the most basic necessity of life. The hegemony's military movements are fascinating, observed Commander Seo Jin from her position at the Strategic Analysis Station. Our sensors show they've pulled back their entire Third Fleet from our borders. Not just repositioned, completely withdrawn to their home systems. Admiral Jae-min studied the tactical displays showing enemy fleet movements across the galaxy. They were ready to go to war with us last week, now they're running away. What changed? The answer came from Dr. Hai Rim, who had been analyzing alien communication intercepts. Sir, I've been monitoring their internal military channels. They're calling us the Dissolver Masters in their strategic reports. Their war planners have classified humanity as a Class Omega threat based entirely on our relationship with water. They think we're some kind of superweapon civilization, added Lieutenant Yu Jin, pulling up translated alien documents. Look at this Zarian military assessment. They believe we've weaponized the most dangerous substance in the universe and can deploy it at will against enemy worlds. The implications were staggering. Humanity had accidentally become the most feared military power in the galaxy, without firing a single shot, or developing any new weapons. Their enemies were terrified of beings who could swim in what they considered liquid death. Colonel Do-hyun highlighted several tactical reports on his screen. The psychological impact is unprecedented. Their soldiers are refusing deployment. Orders to human-controlled systems. Some alien species are having what their medical reports describe as existential crisis reactions, just thinking about humans bathing in water. Admiral Jae-min watched as another wave of diplomatic requests flooded in. The Zephyrian Council was offering technological exchanges worth entire planetary economies, just for the right to establish a single research station near a human water processing facility. They wanted to study how humans had achieved what they believed was impossible. Sir, the most interesting development is from the Neutral Zone Authority, reported Commander Seo Jin. They're requesting that all major galactic negotiations be moved to human-controlled space. They believe other species will be too intimidated to start conflicts in areas where humans regularly use water. The idea was remarkable. Human colonies were spontaneously becoming neutral ground for alien diplomacy, not because of any treaty or agreement, but because other species were too frightened of water exposure to cause trouble in human space. Dr. Hai Riem brought up economic projections on the main screen. If we accept even half of these offers, Earth's economy will grow by approximately 400% within the next year. We're being offered exclusive access to technologies, raw materials, and trade routes that would normally take centuries to negotiate. And all they want in return is water, mused Admiral Jae-min. The same stuff that falls from our sky for free. Lieutenant Yujin highlighted the most remarkable proposal. Sir, the Pan-Galactic Commerce Guild is offering to establish their new headquarters on Luna Station. They want to relocate their entire operation to human space, because they believe the presence of water will prevent other species from attempting hostile takeovers. The Admiral stood and walked to the observation window, looking down at Earth's blue surface, a planet covered in the substance that apparently terrified half the galaxy. We've become the guardians of galactic peace, he said quietly, because we drink water. Colonel Do-hyun nodded, reviewing the strategic assessments. The galaxy's power structure just shifted completely, and we didn't have to do anything except exist. Outside the window, Earth continued its slow rotation, its oceans gleaming with the liquid that had transformed humanity from a minor spacefaring species into the most strategically important civilization in the galaxy. Ambassador Yoonji floated through the corridors of New Terra Station, humanity's newest orbital facility that had become the unofficial capital of galactic civilization. 6 months ago, this station hadn't even existed. Now it hosted representatives from over 200 alien species, all of whom conducted their most important business under what they called human water protection. She paused at the main observation deck, watching a remarkable sight through the reinforced transparent aluminum windows. Below them, Earth's blue surface gleamed with vast oceans that had once been considered the most terrifying sight in the galaxy. Now, alien pilgrimage ships arrived daily just to observe the legendary dissolver world from what they considered a safe distance. "Ma'am, the Crystalline Assembly delegation has arrived for the trade negotiations," announced Lieutenant Jun Ho through the communication system. "They're requesting to meet in Conference Room 7, the one with the decorative water fountain." Yunji smiled at the irony. The aliens had specifically requested the room with flowing water because they believed it demonstrated ultimate human power and control over the dangerous substance. What they didn't know was that humans had installed the fountain simply because. The sound was relaxing. She made her way to the conference room, passing through sections of the station that resembled a bizarre alien zoo. Species that had never been able to meet face-to-face due to biological incompatibilities now gathered regularly in human space. The presence of water vapor in the station's atmosphere made most species too nervous to start conflicts, creating an accidental peace zone. In the corridor, she passed a group of methane collective representatives wearing their environmental suits, deep in conversation with Silicon Confederation delegates. Both species had been at war for over 300 years, but they conducted their peace negotiations exclusively on human stations, because neither side dared risk contaminating the talks with aggression in the presence of dissolver masters. Conference Room 7 buzzed with activity, as alien representatives from 17 different species negotiated what would become the largest trade agreement in galactic history. At the center of it all sat Captain Do Hyun, casually sipping water from a clear glass while billion credit deals were arranged around him. "The hegemony is offering exclusive access to their hyperspace technology," reported the lead crystalline delegate, his protective environmental suit gleaming under the room's lights. "In exchange for guaranteed water deliveries to their research stations." Captain Do-hyun nodded thoughtfully and took another sip of water. Several aliens reflexively activated additional protective barriers when he did this, even though they'd witnessed humans drinking water hundreds of times by now. "We can certainly arrange regular water shipments," Do-hyun replied easily. "Standard purified water delivered in whatever containers you prefer." The Robotic Alliance representative, whose mechanical form was designed to handle hazardous materials, processed this information with visible difficulty. "Clarification requested. You classify the dissolver as standard purified substance?" "Just regular drinking water," confirmed Do-hyun with a shrug. "We have processing facilities on every human colony. It's probably our most abundant resource." "Ambassador?" Yunji watched as alien negotiators exchanged what appeared to be prayers of gratitude. To them, humans were casually offering unlimited access to the most precious and dangerous substance in the universe. The economic implications were reshaping galactic civilization. Through the conference room's windows, she could see human cargo ships arriving with their routine water deliveries to alien research stations scattered throughout the system. What cost humanity practically nothing to produce was worth more than rare metals and exotic energy sources to the rest of the galaxy. Dr. Hi-Rim entered the room carrying her daily reports on the colony development projects. "The Neutral Zone Authority has officially designated 12 more human systems as galactic peace zones," she announced. "Apparently, the presence of surface water on our colony worlds is enough to prevent military conflicts." The remarkable transformation continued to accelerate. Human colonies that had struggled to attract trade partners were now becoming essential stops on major commercial routes. Alien species felt safe conducting business in human space because they believed no one would dare attack locations where humans regularly used water. "Ma'am, we have another interesting development," reported Lieutenant Yuna from the communication station. "The Zephyrian Science Council wants to establish a permanent research facility in Earth orbit. They're offering to share their time manipulation, Technology just for the opportunity to study how we safely handle water. Captain Do-hyun finished his glass of water and refilled it from the conference room's dispenser. The simple action caused several alien delegates to take detailed sensor readings, apparently still unable to believe what they were witnessing. The most fascinating aspect, observed Dr. Hiram while reviewing her research notes, is that we've become protectors of galactic peace without developing any new weapons or military strategies. Our basic biology made us accidentally powerful. Ambassador Yoon-ji looked around the room at the incredible diversity of alien life forms, all gathered together under human protection. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now working together, united by their shared fear and respect for humanity's relationship with water. Outside the station, she could see construction ships building new facilities to accommodate the growing diplomatic presence. Human space had become the neutral ground where the galaxy's most important decisions were made, all because humans could do something that seemed impossible to everyone else. We've become the guardians of galactic civilization, she reflected, quietly, simply by staying hydrated. The liquid that had once inspired fear throughout the universe had become the foundation for unprecedented peace and cooperation among the stars.